When is a chair not just a chair? When it's a stool, a golden stool, the kind that holds the soul of a people, that causes entire nations to rise or fall. Come with me as we walk through the story of Yaa Asantewaa, the warrior queen who dared to defy an empire. The Ashanti Empire was a land of bustling marketplaces, vibrant ceremonies, and regal traditions. By the late 1800s, tensions had begun to rise between the Ashanti and the British Empire. The British, seeking to expand their colonial dominance, had their sights set on the gold-rich lands of the Ashanti and began exerting increasing pressure on the region. Through a series of manipulative treaties and territorial encroachments, they sought control of the Ashanti's valuable resources and political influence. The Ashanti, known for their resilience, resisted these incursions, resulting in a series of conflicts known as the Anglo-Ashanti Wars. Though the Ashanti fought valiantly, the wars left both sides wary and tensions simmered beneath the surface. The British, frustrated by their inability to fully control the Ashanti, sought a new way to break their spirit and assert dominance. At the core of this proud nation stood a symbol, the Golden Stool, carved with exquisite care, representing centuries of culture, unity, and resilience. It was amidst this backdrop of unresolved tensions that the Golden Stool became a focal point for both sides, an emblem of Ashanti pride for one and a target of British conquest for the other. For the British, the Golden Stool was a strategic prize, a symbol whose capture could signify their ultimate control over the Ashanti. It was not merely a cultural artifact, it was the key to breaking the spirit of the Ashanti resistance. Control the stool, control the people. It was during a formal meeting in Kumasi, the Ashanti capital, that Sir Frederick Hodson, the British governor overseeing the region, addressed the gathered Ashanti chiefs. The hall was filled with tension as Hodson rose to speak, his intentions clear but shocking to those present. He made a bold and provocative demand that reverberated throughout the Ashanti lands. He demanded that the Golden Stool be delivered to him, declaring it as his right to sit upon it as the representative of the British Crown. This declaration left the assembled Ashanti leaders stunned, and the audacity of his words echoed throughout the hall. He wanted the Golden Stool, and he wanted it now. This was a shocking demand, an insult so grave that it left the Ashanti men hesitating, uncertain how to respond. As Sir Frederick Hodgson's words rang out, the hall fell into stunned silence. The men of Ashanti exchanged nervous glances. To defy the British Empire was to court destruction, but to hand over the Golden Stool was to lose their very identity. Amidst the hesitation, a voice rose above the uncertainty, a voice that cut through fear like a blade. Among the gathering of Ashanti leaders was Yaa Asantewaa, the Queen Mother of Ejisu. She wasn't a warrior in the traditional sense, but her wisdom and fierce loyalty to her people had earned her deep respect. As Queen Mother, she'd witnessed British encroachment on Ashanti lands, watched her people struggle to maintain their way of life, and she'd had enough. Yaa Asantewaa stood tall, her eyes fierce, her voice unwavering.
How can you call yourselves men of Ashanti if you cower before these invaders? If you, the men, will not fight, we women shall pick up arms. We will march, and we will fight until the last one of us falls.
With those words, Yaa Asantewaa lit a spark in her people that would become a fire. Her courage and resolve inspired both men and women to rise up, to protect not only the Golden Stool, but the spirit of the Ashanti people. Under Yaa Asantewaa's leadership, the Ashanti mounted a fierce resistance. Despite limited weapons, they used guerrilla tactics to outsmart and harass the British forces, holding them back for months. From the dense, humid forests of the Ashanti highlands, Yaa Asantewa's warriors launched ambush after ambush. The British soldiers, weighed down by heavy gear, struggled to move in the unfamiliar terrain. Ashanti warriors struck with precision, vanishing into the trees before the British could react. The air was filled with the crack of rifles, the beating of war drums, and the calls of warriors echoing through the forest. A symphony of resistance. Imagine Yaa Asantewaa, a woman in her 60s, standing resolute against one of the most powerful empires of the time. Her strategic brilliance and unshakable will guided her people in their fight for freedom. The British may have had advanced weaponry, but the Ashanti had a secret weapon of their own, their deep loyalty to their heritage and the fearless leadership of Yaa Asantewaa. Eventually, after months of resistance, British forces overpowered the Ashanti and captured Yaa Asantewaa. She was exiled to the Seychelles, far from her homeland, where she would live out her remaining years. But even there, her spirit was unbroken. She sat in her confinement, her thoughts always on the Ashanti. Her story, carried on the winds of her homeland, became more than a tale of defeat. It was the story of resistance, a reminder that even in captivity, the spirit could remain free. Today, Yaa Asantewaa is celebrated as a symbol of resistance, her memory immortalized in Ghanaian history as the warrior queen who dared to defy colonial rule. The Golden Stool remains a cherished emblem of the Ashanti people, a reminder of the woman who stood up, rallied her people, and inspired a legacy of courage. So, when is a chair not just a chair? When it's the Golden Stool, when it carries the spirit of a people and embodies their pride. If Yaa Asantewa's strength speaks to you, write her name in the comments. Share this story so that we can all keep her legacy alive. Our heritage is our strength, and like Yaa Asantewaa, we must protect it, even today. When I think about Yaa Asantewaa, I see a woman who didn't wait for permission to fight for what was right. In a world that so often asks us to stay in our place, her story reminds me that sometimes our place is at the front lines, standing up for what matters most. In our own way, we all have a golden stool to protect. Our identity, our culture, our rights. What's yours? You've been listening to King Kuru's from the Black History Buff podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to support the creation of more, come and check me out on Patreon, where you'll find hundreds of posts for free if you like what I'm doing. See you soon.